Hello and welcome back to Taylosive Movie Reviews. I really wanted to get back into these for a long time, and now finally I think I have some more free time. Want to dive into it today with something I'm very, very passionate about, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The Office. Full of comedic characters and plot lines that lasted a total of 9 seasons, I really still watch this show on almost a monthly basis. I've watched the entire show start to finish probably 6 to 7 times, and no, I'm not exaggerating. I practically know each episode by heart. And today I wanted to talk specifically about why I think Jim and Pam are one of the best cinematic couples in cinema history. It's not Romeo and Juliet, and that may be a occurring theme throughout my videos. As you know, I don't like Shakespeare. It's not The Notebook, it's not The Fault in Our Stars, it's this couple, and it's specifically not because we know they look cute together. That's always there, right? Every movie has some love interest, and you want them to be together, and then there's some drama in the middle, and then at the end they end up together. Okay, it's far more complicated than that. What's incredible about The Office is the journey it takes you through, because you obviously see that at the beginning, Jim is interested in Pam, and Pam definitely does have something for him, but because she's committed to her engagement with Roy, she doesn't want to move on. She doesn't want to accept that there may be a better option out there. She says, I'm engaged, I need to stay loyal, even though she's clearly unhappy in this relationship. And for a long period in this show, you're not necessarily sure it's going to work out, especially near the end of season 4. You see, 2 seasons ago, Jim makes a move on Pam, and Pam calls off her wedding because of that. But because Pam doesn't want to completely rebound against Roy and go directly with Jim, she wants her time to re-cooperate, and because Jim can't stand being just friends anymore, he moved on, transferred to a different branch even for a big part of season 3, which was when we were introduced to Andy and Karen Filippelli. So while Jim was over there, he gets a lot closer with Karen, and you're pretty much left to believe that the kind of Jim-Pam relationship isn't really going to really work out. You see Jim moving on, you see Pam, trying to move on, but near the end of season 4 specifically, we're left to believe that either Karen or Jim is going to be a new higher-up boss at corporate, and that Pam is pretty sure that Jim is going to get the job and that she'll be happy for him, and that they never really got the timing right, and she kind of accepts it. At the very end of season 3, she kind of says, it's okay, I've kind of accepted that, it's gonna be perfectly fine, I'm completely content with where I am. And then Jim walks in the door and says, sorry, to the interview people, and then, Pam, are you free for dinner tonight? And she goes, yes, and he goes, great, then it's a date. And he walks out, and the look on Pam's face in that moment is one of the most rewarding, most satisfying moments I've ever seen on TV, just to see this relationship that they've been toying with for all these seasons. We've been waiting for this moment. Everyone wanted Jim and Pam to get together because, of course, they are cute. Most couples need to have that going for them, and this couple, of course, has that going for them as well, and finally, they end up dating. That's typically how movie plots go, right? You have an hour and a half to 2 hours to kind of show their quarrel and see how they either work out or don't work out, but how we wish they could be together. So that's kind of the basics of it, right? But the extensiveness of The Office is that it has so much plotline, 9 seasons, practically a decade, that we know every little intricate detail about their relationship. We know their exes' names, we know their kids' names. As down the road they get closer and more intimate. In season 5, we see Jim and Pam actually get married. Pam is pregnant during this time, which is bringing them even closer together. But one thing that I think makes the Jim and Pam relationship a bit more relatable is that neither partner is exactly perfect. They're perfect for each other, but both of them had flaws that jeopardize the relationship itself. Pam mentions in the end of season 9 that she can't watch the Office documentary because she keeps yelling at younger Pam for not committing to Jim when she's so clearly unhappy. Because, in early seasons of The Office, Pam really is a shy person. I love seeing this turn that we see both of their characters make as the seasons go on. Jim starts to become more than just kind of, I need this job for the money, I guess I'll sell paper and prank Dwight because it's fun and I'll be satisfied with that. Jim starts to see more in life. He starts to think, I can become more in this company. He starts to become a co-manager with Michael and is hoping to become more of a management position as he gets older. And then later into season 9, wants to start a startup company with his friends. He makes a turn from being a non-caring paper salesman to someone who actually wants to make a difference and wants to provide for his family. Pam also makes this big turn because she starts off so shy, but Jim, as they get closer, kind of brings out the energy in her. You start to see her become more committed committed and more outspoken, and even sometimes awkward because of the way of how honest she is with everyone. And The Office is kind of really good at being awkward, and Pam starts to go along with that. You know, in the original part of The Office, she's kind of quiet and just kind of points out when Michael is being idiotic. It's a good reflection of Michael's absurdness towards others. She kind of reflects that in a natural way, but as she gets older, she starts to become awkward. You know, Michael's cringiness starts to rub off on her, and this imperfection in both characters does clearly show, especially near the end of The Office when Jim starts realizing that he's missing important parts of his family's life in order to pursue his company as lead. This relationship in this family, all that he's worked for, is starting to feel left out because he has to spend half of his time in Philly, and then of course Pam feels guilty for her earlier years of not being able to realize that Roy was a mistake and that she should have gone off with Jim years ago. What was really sad is that while watching season 9 for the first time when it first came out, I really started to believe that Jim and Pam weren't gonna work out. Pam started talking with the sound guy on The Office, which some people thought it was weird to have that fourth wall break. Literally the guy who does the sound for The Office, she starts having a conversation with, and that guy starts to know more than Jim does. I thought she was gonna start having an affair, and I was like, oh no, don't ruin the most perfect cinematic couple, but they didn't. They do work it out, and they flash back to parts of their wedding and their vows. And one thing that I think is rare is that a lot of shows typically go with the response of, well, sometimes couples can't work it out, and it's a good message that, you know, the parents put their kids first and decide that they can't be together and they stay divorced. Sadly, this happens a lot, so it's a more relatable topic, but I liked seeing a show where they admitted, you know what, Jim and Pam are soulmates, and they are going to work this out. They've been together so long, they know each other so well, they are going to stay committed to each other, and not just because they want Cece and Philip to feel like they are loved, which is important, and they do love their children very much, but they did make sure the relationship was focused around the couple themselves and not just about making the kids happy. This undying love Jim has for Pam is also echoed onto Dwight in the end of season 9 when he convinces Dwight to go after Angela. Also interweaving couple, but definitely not as strong or as loyal, given both Dwight and Angela go off on many different relationships that had a lot of dead ends. It's nowhere near what Jim and Pam are, but I think watching them go from kind of flirtatious workmates into a dating couple, into a married couple, into parents, and then into a struggling marriage, and then watch them restore that marriage is probably one of the most satisfying and everlasting couple goals I've ever seen. That's why I love the Jim and Pam relationship so much on The Office, and that's why I think no one else can really come close to it, is because it's so detailed and it really resembles how I think relationships should go today. You know, nothing is always going to be perfect. When you're dating someone, you get really close to them and you start to acknowledge things and realize things that you didn't know about them. You realize they're not perfect. You know, you're not going into a relationship expecting perfection, but the more you get to know someone, you realize that they have their flaws, and as they bring up more points, you start to realize you have flaws that you didn't even know you had. And that's okay, because loving someone isn't about finding someone that is perfect for you. It's about loving them despite their imperfections. It means that my love for you is undying and perhaps not even deserved. I'm still going to stay devoted to you. And that's what I see in Jim and Pam, and I don't really see that in other relationship movies. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifice and there's a lot of commitment, which is important, and I'm not to say everyone else is bad. There's definitely good couples in movies, but Jim and Pam steals it for me just because of their history and because I know every little part of it. And it's not just the serious moments. A lot of movies about relationships tend to focus on just being serious and how my love is undying. But when it comes to Jim and Pam, there's a lot of humor in there. You know their history and you know how they feel, and you really start to feel like these characters are real. That's why it's so bizarre for a lot of people who see Jenna Fisher or John Krasinski in real life and realize they're not married to each other. You're like, what? Why is John with this actress? That's not Pam. I feel that way a lot, and the show will do that to you. So, of course, I'd love to hear all your thoughts. I'm sure plenty of you disagree with me. Let me know all your thoughts about Jim and Pam in the comments below. And, of course, if there's other things you want me to talk about on Taylor's of Movie Reviews, let me know. This has been another episode of Drew Reviews, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.